Throughout this course, I'll be using the most recent version of Eclipse, Eclipse Juno 4.2. If you don't already have this version installed, you can download it for free from www.eclipse.org/downloads. Choose the version for your operating system. I'll be using the version for Windows 64-bit. I've downloaded the installation to my desktop. Regardless of whether you're working on Mac, Windows, or Linux, you'll get the download as an archive file. On Windows, I have a zip file. And no matter which operating system you're on, just extract the contents and then move the Eclipse folder that you'll find into your Program Files directory on Windows or your Applications folder on Mac. I've installed Eclipse 4.2 into my Program Files folder, and I'll double-click eclipse.exe to run it. And if you're working on Mac, just double-click on the Eclipse application. The first time you start Eclipse, you'll be asked to select a workspace, just as in previous versions of Eclipse, and I'll use the default, simply named Workspace. Your first task, once you've installed Eclipse, is to make sure that it picks up your Java 7 installation. Go to the Preferences dialog, which is under the Window menu on Windows or the Eclipse menu on Mac. Go to the Java category, open it up, and choose Compiler. Check your compiler compliance level. It should be set to 1.7, which is the same thing as Java 7. Also, go to your installed JREs and make sure that JRE 7 shows up there. If you don't see it there, perhaps because you already had this version of Eclipse installed before you installed Java 7, click the Add button and add the JRE 7 folder to your system. Then check that JRE to add it to the build path of newly created Java projects. Once you've gone through those steps, when you create brand new Java projects, they should automatically be set to use Java 7. I'll test this by creating a new project. I'll choose File, New, Java Project. I'll name the project Java 7 Test, and I'll use the default location. You might find that this option, using the execution environment JRE, is disabled. If that does happen, deselect the option Use Default Location, and you should be able to choose a specific JRE. But if you followed the previous steps, setting the Java 1.7 JRE as the default, it should already be selected. So I'll go back to using the default location and click Finish. Then I'll create a little application that uses code that will only work if I'm using Java 7. I'll open the project, right-click on the source folder, and create a new class. And I'll name it Java 7 Test. And following good practices, I'll put it in a package, which I'll name Tests. I'll make sure that I've selected the option to create a main method, and I'll click Finish. I'll delete the To-Do comment by pressing Ctrl-D on Windows or Command-D on Mac. Then, within the main method, I'll create a variable data typed as a string, and I'll name it Key, and I'll give it a value of 1. Now, I'll create a switch statement. I mentioned in the Java Essential Training course that switch statements starting in Java 7 can use string values. You couldn't do this in Java 6 and prior versions, so this is a good way to make sure that I'm compiling and running using Java 7. I'll type the word switch, all lowercase, then I'll press Ctrl and the spacebar. This is the same keyboard shortcut on Mac or Windows. And I'll choose the first option to create a switch case statement. Notice that when you use this code template, that it already looks for a variable named key. I knew that. That's why I named my variable the way I did. Now I'll press Tab to go to the next thing, and I'll type in 1. Then I'll move the cursor into that case statement, and I'll output the value as 1, using system.out.println, and then the value is 1. I'll also add an output statement to the default case, using system.out.println. The value isn't 1. So once again, this will only work if I'm working in Java 7 because I'm evaluating a string variable, which you couldn't do in earlier versions. I'll save my changes and run the application, and in the output console down below, I see the value is 1. If you see the same thing, you've successfully connected Eclipse to Java 7, and you're ready to work through the exercise files in this course.